My name is Monica, I'm 32 years old, and for the past 8 years, I've worked as a programmer. I live alone in a small one-bedroom apartment that I've rented since college. It's not fancy, but it has good internet, and that's really all I need for my remote job. My younger sister Rebecca is 28, she's married to Tom, and they have a little boy named Ethan. He's 4 years old and full of energy. Rebecca has always been the golden child, married young, had a baby, and always seemed to be living the life my parents imagined for both of us. Meanwhile, I've been quietly working, saving, and keeping to myself. For the last 3 years, I've been saving every extra penny I could. I gave up takeout, skipped vacations, and lived very modestly, all because I had a dream, to buy my own place, something that would be mine, not big, not fancy, just comfortable and peaceful. And last month, it finally happened. I hit my savings goal for a down payment. I was so excited. I called my mom right away. "Mom, I did it, I finally saved enough for a down payment." She sounded thrilled. "That's wonderful, honey, what kind of place are you thinking of getting?" I told her honestly, just a small one-bedroom condo, something simple and affordable. Then there was a pause. "Monica, don't be silly, you need to think bigger. You should be looking at something with at least 3 bedrooms. I blinked. "Why? It's just me." "Well, you might get married one day, you'll need space for kids, maybe even guests. Why not plan ahead?" I laughed, but it was forced. "Mom, I haven't dated anyone in over a year, I'm not exactly preparing for a wedding." "That's because you work too much," she said. "If you had a nice home, maybe you'd entertain more and meet someone." I should have known then where this was going, but I brushed it off. My mom has always made comments about my being single, and I've learned to ignore them, or so I thought. I hired a realtor named Dave. He was nice, professional, and very understanding of my budget and needs. He showed me a few great one-bedroom condos, and I was excited, but each time I told Mom about one I liked, she found something wrong. Too small. That kitchen's outdated. There's no good school nearby. I reminded her I didn't have kids, but she kept insisting I think long-term. Eventually, she started coming to house viewings with me. I didn't want her to, but it was easier than hearing her complain afterward. Suddenly, Dave was showing us much bigger places, 3-bedroom, even 4-bedroom houses, way more than I needed or wanted, but Mom kept saying things like, "This would be a perfect nursery," or "Imagine hosting family holidays here." Then we saw a large 4-bedroom house with a big backyard. It was beautiful, and even though it was way over my original budget, I could technically afford it, barely. I'd have to cut back on a lot, but I could make it work. Mom was ecstatic. "This is perfect for you, you won't regret it." I wasn't so sure, but after months of searching and pressure, I started to convince myself that maybe she was right. Maybe I was being too cautious. Maybe I should plan for a future I didn't have yet. I scheduled a second viewing and decided to tell my parents in person before making an offer. That Sunday, I drove to their house. It was the same modest home I grew up in, a small 3-bedroom in an older neighborhood. I still had a key, so I let myself in. I didn't hear anyone at first, but then I caught voices from the kitchen. I was about to call out when I heard something that made me freeze. "Monica has no idea," Mom said, sounding smug. "We've got her convinced to buy that big 4-bedroom house, and then your father and I will move in with her." Rebecca was on speakerphone. "Are you sure she'll be okay with that?" "Of course she will," Mom replied. "She's an old maid, she's never getting married. This way, she won't be alone, and we'll give you and Tom our house." Then Dad chimed in, laughing. "She makes good money, she can pay the bills, and we'll have extra money to send your way, Beck." Rebecca asked, "So Monica doesn't know?" Mom laughed. "Not a clue. She always does what we say. She'll buy whatever house we pick. I've got her completely under control." My heart sank. My own parents and sister were planning to trick me, use my money to get themselves a free ride and hand over their house to Rebecca. I felt like the floor disappeared beneath me. I backed away from the hallway, then walked loudly back to the front door and slammed it shut. "Hello, anyone home?" I called out, pretending I had just arrived. "In the kitchen, honey," Mom answered, suddenly sweet. "We were just talking about you." I walked in, pretending everything was normal, though my hands were shaking. "So, any updates on that beautiful house?" Mom asked, all smiles. "I'm still thinking about it," I said calmly. the payments would be a stretch. Oh, but it's a great investment, she insisted. I nodded and changed the subject. We had dinner. I smiled and made small talk, but inside, I was crushed. The people I loved most had been planning to use me, to take advantage of everything I'd worked for, not because they needed help, but because they thought I was too alone and too weak to say no. When I got home, I sat in my car and cried. Then I called my college roommate, Jennifer, who lived in Colorado. She was always my voice of reason. "Jen, you won't believe what just happened," I said, and I told her everything. When I finished, she was furious. "That's disgusting, you need to get far away from those leeches." "I know," I said, "but I've worked so hard, I still want to buy a place." "So buy one," she said, "just not there, buy one here. Boulder's beautiful, there's tons of tech work, and best of all, it's 1,500 miles away from your toxic family." At first, I laughed, but she wasn't joking. She even offered to connect me with her realtor, Kim. "You could do virtual tours," she said, "and I'll check them out for you in person." The more I thought about it, the more it felt right. A fresh start, a new city, freedom. "Let's do it," I said. "Have Kim send me some listings." This time, I was buying a place for me, just me, and no one else would have a say. A fresh start for Monica. It was a sunny Sunday afternoon, and we were all gathered at my parents' house. Mom had cooked one of her classic roasts, and the table was set like it was a holiday. I should have known something big was coming. Mom stood up, her eyes glowing with pride. "We have an announcement," she said cheerfully, holding Dad's hand. "Rebecca and Tom, we've signed the papers. The house is officially yours." Rebecca smiled brightly, while Tom gave a stiff, uneasy nod. My stomach tightened, but I managed to say, "That's very generous." My parents looked at me expectantly, clearly waiting for a reaction. Dad jumped in next. "Well, they'll need the space now that little Ethan's getting older, and of course, you'll be moving into your new house soon." "Speaking of which," Mom added, "when can we come see it?" I took a deep breath. My heart was pounding. "Actually, I have an announcement too." Everyone at the table turned to me. Rebecca leaned in. Tom sat back. "I did buy a house," I said slowly, "but not the one you think." There was a pause, followed by confused expressions. "What do you mean?" Mom asked, her voice suddenly sharper than before. "I bought a small 2-bedroom house," I continued. "It's cozy, just right for me, and it has a lovely space for a home office." Dad furrowed his brow. "But we thought." "I know what you thought," I said, my voice firm now. "I was there that day a few months ago, remember? I came over early and walked in just as you were talking to Rebecca on speakerphone." Mom went pale. "What conversation?" "The one where you called me an old maid. The one where you said I'd never get married and that I'd be alone forever. The one where you talked about moving into my house and living off me, while giving your house to Rebecca." Rebecca suddenly looked very interested in her plate. Tom stared, clearly surprised. "We never said," Dad began. "Oh, but you did," I snapped. "I heard every word. You made it sound like you had me wrapped around your little finger, like I was your backup plan." Mom tried to backpedal. "Monica, you're taking this all wrong. Families help each other." "No," I replied, shaking my head. "You weren't helping me, you were using me, treating me like a walking ATM while you handed everything over to Rebecca." "That's not fair," Rebecca piped in. "Isn't it?" I turned to her. "Did you know about the plan?" Her eyes dropped. She didn't answer. "I'm not playing along anymore," I said, "because the house I bought, it's not even in this state." Silence filled the room. "What?" Mom asked in a whisper. "I bought a house in Colorado. I'm moving next week." "Colorado?" Dad nearly choked. "That's 500 miles away." "Yes," I said calmly, "it is." Mom burst into tears, not the quiet kind, but the dramatic sobbing she always used when things didn't go her way. "How could you do this to us? We gave the house to Rebecca already." "That was your decision," I said, "just like this is mine." "But where will we live?" Dad asked, getting angry now. I looked around their living room. "Well, Rebecca's house has 3 bedrooms, plenty of room." Rebecca's face twisted in horror. Clearly, she hadn't thought this part through. She'd been thrilled when she thought she was getting a free house, but now that it came with live-in parents, she wasn't so thrilled. "We'll come visit you," Mom threatened through her tears. "We'll find your address. No, you won't, I said, because I'm not telling you where I'm going. You can't just cut us off, Dad shouted. I'm not cutting you off, I said firmly. I'm setting boundaries, something I should have done a long time ago. I stood up. I've been your emergency fund for years. Every visit, every phone call, you always needed something. No more. Mom sobbed louder. After everything we've done for you. I looked her straight in the eye. And what have you done for me, lately, besides try to manipulate me? No one answered. I'm leaving, I said, picking up my purse. Maybe one day we can have a better relationship, but that depends on you. As I reached the door, Rebecca called after me. Wait, you can't just leave like this. Mom and Dad need a place to stay. They have one, I said, with you. Enjoy your new house, it comes with baggage. I shut the door behind me and walked to my car feeling lighter than I had in years. Back at my apartment, I began packing with renewed energy. The next week flew by. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Calls, texts, emails, first from my parents, then Rebecca, then distant relatives suddenly pretending they cared, all wanting my new address. I blocked the calls, moved the emails to a folder labeled Toxic Family. On moving day, I flew to Colorado. Jen, my best friend, met me at the airport. Welcome to your new life, she said, hugging me. The drive to Boulder was peaceful, the mountains were beautiful, the trees glowing with early autumn color. When we pulled up to my new house, a charming little blue cottage with white trim and a big maple tree, I couldn't hold back my tears. It's perfect, I whispered. Inside, it was even better, clean, updated, simple, just mine. Jen had even arranged for the internet to be set up already. I hugged her tight. Thank you for helping me do this. That first week, I was both excited and on edge. I kept worrying my parents would find me somehow, but they didn't. Only Jen and the moving company knew where I was. By the third week, I found a routine, a local coffee shop for work, a yoga studio, a barbecue with new neighbors. Jen was right, life was better here. Sure, my parents kept trying. They switched to emails, swinging between guilt trips and fake apologies. I didn't reply. 3 months in, I got a call from Aunt Sarah. She was one of the few honest voices in our family, so I answered. I'm just checking on you, she said. Your mom told me you moved. I did, and I'm really happy, Aunt Sarah. She sighed. Things back home aren't going well. Your parents are living with Rebecca now. It's not pretty. I wasn't surprised. Tom and your dad argue all the time. Your dad thinks it's still his house, and now Rebecca's pregnant again. That caught me off guard. Really? Yes, she wants to turn your parents' room into a nursery. They're panicking. A small, satisfied smile crept onto my face. Well, they made their choices. They're thinking of renting an apartment, but they're worried about money. I shook my head. They'll figure it out. I'm not their backup plan anymore. Sarah didn't push. I'm proud of you, Monica. I hope they learn from this. Later that night, I sat on my porch swing, the crisp Colorado air brushing against my face. My cozy house glowed behind me, filled with peace and freedom. I wasn't just living in a new place, I was living a new life. No more guilt, no more manipulation, no more being the responsible one everyone could use. Just me, finally, happily, being free. And I didn't owe anyone an explanation for it.